Hello, this is Dazzling One, and this week's discussion is on the Men in Black and other strange sightings. Urban legends of the Men in Black have been with us for quite some time, dating back to the 50s and 60s with the first account from Dahl, and some distinguishing factors of the Men in Black are that they're often garbed in black from head to toe, from their fedora to their long, dark overcoat. They tend to visit people who have either seen a UFO or are researching UFOs. People who are visited by the Men in Black often describe it as an unpleasant experience, and some distinguishing factors of the Men in Black are that they're garbed in black from head to toe, from a fedora to a long dark overcoat. They often drive old models of cars that are also black like their clothing, but while they're an old model, they're in very good condition, and these men speak in a monotone voice and often claim to be government agents who want information on the UFO encounter, as well as to dissuade those they visit from speaking about the encounter that they had, or further speaking about it if they have publicized it. Some even liken it to a threat, and many report before they encounter these Men in Black having received strange phone calls before or after the encounter, and other strange happenings occurring as well, leading up to it or after the meeting with them. Something that's striking about these Men in Black is their behavior. It's very strange. They seem fascinated by simple objects like pens, and they seem to be socially inept, yet often some of them carry strange devices, and many believe that the claim of working for the U.S. government is all a farce, and that these may in fact be entities, maybe aliens themselves or interdimensional travelers, as well as modern encounters with angels and demons. As time has gone by, we've heard less about the Men in Black and more about the rise of other urban legends like the Black-Eyed Kids, but one recent example of a sighting of the Men in Black was with a UFO researcher who was staying in a hotel. He happened to be out at the time, but two men garbed in all black walked into the hotel, and many who saw these men said that they were strange and they were asking for him. But other than that, I haven't heard too much about these encounters, and instead more people are talking about the Black-Eyed Kids, which, similar to the Men in Black, when it comes to their skin, looks pretty artificial. It's either a pale color or a more Mediterranean dark olive tone, and it's has no flaws whatsoever. It almost seems fake, as well as the fact that they also speak in a monotone voice. But where they differ is that the Black-Eyed Kids are kids, and usually ranging from the ages of 5 or 6 to 13, and they also are missing the sclera of their eye, which is the whites of their eye. And this is the reason why I think they don't usually gain entry into a house when they ask to be let in, similar to a vampire. And so it makes one wonder, are these two entities linked? And if so, what is the purpose of them visiting certain people, and who do they work for? Are they doing this independently? Are these pranksters who buy black contacts or who dress weird and have gotten down their acting skills so well they can convince people that they are otherworldly? Are these elaborate hoaxes that people are making up and writing on the internet? Are these, in fact, aliens visiting people, or are these interdimensional beings or some other type of undiscovered species living amongst us on Earth? The questions are endless, but this also reminds me of stories of Highway 6666, which to many brings an ominous picture into their mind because it's affiliated with the mark of the beast. This highway was changed to Highway 491 because of the many accidents that occurred on it. Some claim while they were driving this highway that they had a paranormal experience. Some seeing headlights in their rearview window that scared them, and later they turned around and saw there was nothing there. Some reported seeing a black sedan that would try to run them off the road, and many felt that it was Satan himself driving the car. This, while it sounds outrageous, reminds me of stories of those back in the day who talked about how they would see a man on a dark horse who would ride by, and they felt it was Satan riding that horse. There's also reports of a furious driver in a truck who looked demonic in appearance. There was a lot of accidents that occurred there. Some say because of the superstition, people would crash their cars out of paranoia. And one interesting sighting that people often saw was a young woman in a white dress with long flowing dark hair who seemed seemingly sad, who just walked alone on the side of the road. Now what's interesting about this entity is that she has been seen other places as well in the world, and it seems to be a global phenomenon. I remember even the first episode of Supernatural was about this woman in white. So these entities often take on similar forms, and much like shadow people or Hat Man, which many have claimed to see, these are no stranger to many around the world. So the question becomes, what do you think these things are and where do they come from? Other theories that I've heard is that these could, in fact, when it comes to the Men in Black, be clones, as well as the Black-Eyed Kids. And the reason some believe they are clones is because often when something is cloned, there is a defect of some sort. Clones are never quite right. But still, does that explain some of the paranormal experiences that some witness when dealing with these beings? And while reading the Mothman Prophecies by John A. Keel, he talked about other strange entities that were seen aside from Mothman, who many believe served as an omen before the collapse of the Silver Bridge. Many reported seeing other flying bird-like creatures. Others reported seeing other entities similar to the Men in Black, who again had flawless skin and were inappropriately dressed for the weather, either wearing too thin of clothing in the bitter cold or wearing heavy clothing when it was hot outside, and they also exhibited strange behavior and only seemed to have a fascination with UFO researchers and those who had encountered UFOs. And I suggest, if you're interested in this stuff, to read the book, but it's all very fascinating. So the question is, what are these things and where do they come from? And I think one place I can look, that I always look, is the Bible. And this reminded me of Hebrews 13:2. Be not forgetful to entertain strangers, for thereby some have entertained angels unaware. So in the word it says that it is possible that you could be entertaining an angel. And I always took it to be like a holy heavenly angel. But I also believe that Satan, since he mimics God, also can send a fallen angel or a demon also in the form of a human. I would say more likely a fallen angel, but I think if they were coming to people, they would want to have some element of fear that they bring with them. One interesting note is that whenever anyone encountered an angel in the Bible, often they would fall on their face and would worship them, and a holy angel would tell them that they are not to worship them, but to worship the Creator or the Most High. And I believe a fallen angel, when they encounter people, would not tell them to worship the Most High. They probably would suck up the worship. But another interesting feature about it is, when I was rereading the story of Sodom and Gomorrah in Genesis 19, I noticed that the angels who resembled men struck the men of Sodom with blindness. And this is interesting because while reading John A. Keel's book, The Mothman Prophecies, he talked about how people who often saw UFOs experienced temporary blindness or eye burns. Even people who saw the Mothman creature, some of them who saw it, saw these creatures light up, and when they lit up, they experienced eye burns. And so it's interesting, maybe the light that these beings emit can be so powerful that they can blind people. So that's just another potential key in the puzzle. And he also talked about how accompanying the sightings of many of these things were light orbs as well, and how in later paranormal research he did, light orbs were a common theme, as well as these strange footprints. And he even took them to local zoologists who were unable to identify where these footprints came from. But one man claimed that these were common where there were paranormal sightings. I mean, I think that the possibility of them walking among us is great. I did a video at the beginning of the year about this sort of subject, and I mentioned the Strain as well as the Tattooed Rat series. And the Strain, the TV show that comes on FX about ancient vampires who are trying to basically seek world domination, will infiltrate mankind by blending in, and they often put on makeup and disguise themselves as regular looking humans. And those that are able to control their thirst for blood are successful in doing so. But also in books like The Tattooed Rats, you have demons who are putting on fake skin and tricking high school students to think that they are regular kids when in fact they are demons. So is it possible that they have found ways to give these entities temporary skin to blend in with mankind for a short period of time? Another instance that stood out to me in John A. Keel's book, The Mothman Prophecies, was that one of the visitors, a large man who also had similar features to the Men in Black, but he was not described as being one of the Men in Black. He seemed to have trouble breathing when he was talking to the family and he asked for a glass of water. And I think this is where that scene in The Men in Black is inspired from, because the movie The Men in Black from 1997 is inspired by the Mothman prophecies as well as the Men in Black sightings that many reported in the 50s and 60s. And after he took this pill, he was fine. He was able to breathe again. It also could lend to the clone idea as well, and this is the reason why they have trouble speaking, because even when they speak, they often have scrambled speech as well. So, and another possibility as well to all of this could be, as some pointed out in the video that I did on winged humanoids, is that maybe they're simply creatures that aren't necessarily angels, demons, or anything supernatural, but they are physical flesh and blood beings, but they're not necessarily within the classifications of animals that we know of today. And I think that's a possibility as well. I do think that there are creatures that some may deem mythical that roam this earth, but for whatever reason they hide themselves, or maybe they live in areas where most people don't live, so no one ever sees them, or they mainly died out. And I think this could be the result of what the Book of Enoch, the Book of Giants, and what Genesis 6:4 describes as the pre-flood antediluvian world, where the fallen angels not only mix with mankind, but also with the animals of the earth. Some of them could also be escaped from the lab. Who knows what some scientists are doing for some private corporations who may want to invent these types of things, like Jurassic Park, bringing back the dinosaurs. But it's all really fascinating. It's all very sci-fi and paranormal, but let me know what you think about this, what your opinions are on these things, and I hope that you have a wonderful week. Take care, and God bless.